All right, hello again. I'm Sensei Ashton. We are covering conditions in the third station of it. We're first going to do a bit of review of if statements, what we covered in our last station, and we're also going to cover some new concepts such as if, else, if. I talked about it very briefly, hypothetically, in the last one, but now we're going to see it actually being put into use. So let's do some review first. What is an if statement? If statements are a type of conditional. Conditionals allow our program to make decisions. If statements allow a program to run one or more statements if a condition is true. I'll let you write down anything. If you're watching this, make sure you're following along in the video and writing down what you need to. All right. How to create an if statement. All if statements obviously start with if, and all if statements need a condition and one or more statements to be able to execute. So below we have a quick example. If condition is true, we run our statements. Obviously, we parentheses are wrapping the condition, our C's, and then curly braces wrap the statements, which are just the squiggly lines on screen. All right, now we're going to review if-else. What are if-else statements? If-else statements are another type of conditional that allow a program to run one or more statements if a condition is true and false. So how are we going? Let me let you write that down really fast. All right. Remember, you can pause if you need to. This is a video. So how are we going to create an if-else statement? It obviously starts with if, like our normal if statement, but after the if statement has all of its functions and its condition, we're going to type else and whatever we need to be ran. So if our condition is true, we run our statements. But if our condition is false, we're going to have this else statement run whatever else we need to. So let's say if condition, we want to have our character walk across the screen. If our condition is false, we're going to have our character stand there, and that's going to be ran with the else statement. Once again, parentheses wrap the condition, curly braces wrap the statements. So we're going to be covering our new topic. What are if-else-if statements? If-else-if statements are, again, a type of conditional, but they can check multiple conditions, so more than just true or false. So we're going to look at how to create them. So how are we creating an if-else-if statement? All if-else-if statements are created by writing multiple if-else statements. This means we are going to add another if-else, and then an if-else-if, depending on what we need. For example, if condition 1 is false, we're going to look at condition 2, which we need to state as else if condition 2 is false, then we're running our else statement. We can use else if multiple times until we finally reach the end of our conditions, in which case we would use a final else statement. However, once again, with all if statements, if one of the conditions are true, we are running whatever happens inside of that conditional, and then we are moving on, ignoring, let's say, if condition 2 is true, we're ignoring statements from condition 1 and the statements from the else statement. All right, we're going to look at an actual example. If a score is greater than 0, the player wins. However, if the score is equal to 0, the player ties, and if the score is not greater than or equal to 0, the player loses. So, here's our coding example. Let's say score in this case is 5. If score 5 is greater than 0, obviously we have the first statement run, which is wins. So we will get our win screen or whatever we want to happen when the win function is ran. Now let's say our score equals 0. If score 0 is greater than 0, that's not correct. That's a false statement. So we are going to move on to else if. Else if score 0 equals to 0, we tie. And that is a true statement, so our tie screen is going to happen. Now let's say we did really bad. Our score is -10. -10 is not greater than 0, so we move on to else if. Score -10 does not equal 0, so we move on to else, and our else means that we lose. So anything that is not 0 or above, we will automatically lose the game. All right, we're now going to look at some nested if statements. Nested if statement is an if statement inside another conditional. So instead of if-else statements, we're actually running one if statement and then another if statement inside of that first. Like this. If condition 1, if it runs correctly, our if condition 2 will actually be the statement that if condition 1 is running. So let's say if it is a school day, we need to decide if we need to brush our teeth first or change our clothes. So we will have another if statement inside of if it is a school day. Now we're going to see a coding example with this. Let's say the outer if statement checks if score is greater than 0. If so, the nested if statement checks if lives is greater than 0. And then if both true, win runs. So both our score and lives need to be greater than 0 to trigger a win screen. So obviously, if our score was less than 0, we would either not run the statement at all or have something else happen. But because if score is greater than 0, that condition statement is a new if statement looking if our lives are greater than 0. And if both of those are correct, we have a win screen pop up or a win function run. All right, that's the end of this presentation. If you have any questions, please watch this video back again, or make sure to ask a sensei for help.